This is Pinson Chapters 5 and 6. This is the contemporary worship section, which should be the easiest to talk about and should be probably the most relevant. Starts out, this is by Dan Wilt, starts out with kind of giving you the feel of what a modern day worship service would look like. The room's electric with anticipation, the auditorium is filled, the lights go low, music starts playing, and it just kind of feels like a concert almost. Then he goes on to say, he goes into some of the challenges. One thing he does in this chapter a lot is he quotes, at the time, very modern worship songs, like "Come Now Is the Time to Worship," and "You Are My All in All," and "How Great Is Our God," and stuff like that. He quotes lyrically all the way down through there, which is something I really appreciate. It goes into some of the lyrics. He goes through and he talks about some of the challenges of worship, which are they don't always appeal to every generation. It changes. Contemporary worship is not the same as today as it was back then. Contemporary changes very quickly. But where was I going with this? We mix. One thing he does praise us for is that we mix a good amount of philosophy and practice, very stylistic, a lot of ethnic stuff. We mix all that kind of stuff together to blend worship very well today. It's not so rigid as the liturgy was. Another thing he talks about is just how much music there is. Contemporary worship, as opposed to liturgy and even the traditional stuff, there are a ton more songs. There are songs constantly being created. There are professional musicians doing this. Whereas before, the hymns were written by priests who already had a vocation. They were priests. These are people who are simply songwriters or musicians, and they're writing music for a living. So we have a ton of music. He goes on to say some important definitions of worship. Worship is the overflow of a life devoted to the glory of God. Acts 2:28. Really, really like that. Worship is a posture of the heart. Worship is a living act, and worship is whenever is possible because of the ultimate worshiper, Jesus, that lives inside of us. Some great definitions. We'll definitely be using that in the future. He also kind of goes through some questions like, why is singing so important? It causes the congregation to come together. We sing together. We worship together. There's always new songs, all this kind of good stuff. Then we go on to chapter 6. He also talks a lot in chapter 5 about the culture of worship. Worship in our culture blend. The culture right now is very artistic, so there's a lot of art, a lot of artistic feel. Worship has definitely become very hipster nowadays. Skinny jeans galore. Then we go on to chapter 6. And one thing I really appreciated from chapter 6 was by Timothy Quill, who was the writer of the liturgy section. And he goes through and he talks about a helpful technique for diagnosing the theology of a hymn or a contemporary music song is who's doing the verb. He says, oftentimes contemporary worship is about what I'm doing. Here am I to worship. Come, now is the time to worship. This is the air I breathe. Stuff like that. It's about us. Whereas the liturgy, which he's obviously biased, the liturgy was about what God was doing for us and what God have mercy. Who is doing the verb? Christ have mercy. And that's really what he talked about a ton. So yeah, this is 5 and 6, and there will be more coming up very quickly. So, thanks for listening. You've enjoyed it.